one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the order at 5:30. Roll call.
Emily Hunt Daly,
She's delayed exit traffic.
Robert Hayes.
Here.
Richard Jones,
Present.
Ron Ortiz.
Here.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Present. Agenda adoption, Mr. Perez.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board, good evening, everyone. I recommend that we approve the agenda with the exception of 6C. The presenters are not gonna be here this evening, so we won't be able to have the presentation on 6C, but without that, I recommend that we approve the agenda. With that
Is there-
exception.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I make a motion we approve as amended.
Second.
Is there a second? Motion made by Richard Jones, seconded by Bob Hayes, to approve the agenda as amended. Roll call.
Emily Hunt Daly, not here. Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yes. 3, adoption of minutes. Board members, Mr. Perez.
Mr. President, Board, I recommend that we adopt the minutes of September 20th, 2022 as presented.
Just a moment, please. Is there a motion to that effect?
I make a motion we approve.
Motion made by Richard Jones to approve, seconded by
I'll second.
Ron Ortiz to approve the minutes as presented. Roll call.
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yes. Motion carries. Recognitions.
Mr. President, Board, there are no formal recognitions this evening,
Citizens to address the board.
and there are no citizens requesting to address the Board.
Presentations.
Yes, sir. So first up, Mr. President, Board, it's always an honor to bring up our school site presentations. This evening, we have Mesa View Elementary, and we have the staff.
Good evening, President, Dr. Archambo, Superintendent Perez, members of the board, and all you beautiful executives. Thank you for having us tonight. I'm going to start off with our little presentation here. And the first slide is, of course, the Mesa View Elementary presentation. And I have a beautiful audience in back of me, and they will all get a chance to talk. Next slide. First of all, to be a Viking, you have to be awesome. And that's exactly who I have in back of me. We have a enrollment of about 479 students currently, and we keep growing each day. Our first grade is super big, so we had to create a new classroom this year. So we have 4 first grade classrooms. And like I said, it grows every day, and we accept the kids willingly, and the teachers are putting in the work, they're accommodating, and it's beautiful. We have 30 certified teachers, highly qualified. We also have 9 EAs who are assisting in kindergarten and other classrooms. We have 6 ESS long-term subs who are currently placed in as adult supervisors in specific classrooms, mainly the resource classroom, which is thriving, I must say, very proud of them. We have 2 EWS staff members who are adamantly working on the attendance, along with Ms. Shativa, who is our Title VI assistant. They're working collaboratively every day, calling parents, asking where their students are. And we are creatively trying to think of a way of getting our kids to school more. Our attendance is a little rocky, but with the help of the EWS folks, we are, like I said, we're making some gains. We're having our parent conferences, if they're on a contract, and so far, so good. Everybody is cooperating. I said I wasn't gonna say and I said Some of the highlights that we have for Mesa View include the following, and we're gonna kind of go in this order so that way the staff is like ready to go when I call on them. But one of the biggest things was our anti-bullying initiative. I believe that was one of the heart and soul things coming from Ms. Sanchez. And so what we did is we had one of our first annual walks, and you'll see on the next slide, not now, but that's something we're gonna talk about. And I also have 2 students who wrote some essays from Ms. Ratliff's class who will also be reading those to you. I haven't heard them, so I'm excited to hear what they have to say about bullying and being kind, our pledge to be kind. We also have our 3rd grade teachers, Ms. Varela and Ms. Henderson, who are gonna touch on SEL in the classroom, as well as some other initiatives that they have started in 3rd grade. We also have our instructional coach, who's also our testing coordinator. She's gonna go over some data with you all. And I'm also gonna touch on a little bit of the PLCs that she hosts. You're gonna be impressed. Also, we have our 6th grade teachers, Ms. Bodley and Ms. Ratliff, who are gonna go over some of the steps that we are taking to grow our students and to become masters of their content, and to also just tap on some of the strategies that they're using inside their classroom. And at any time, please feel free to ask us any questions. The next slide here. This was our very first Anti-Bullion Fun Walk, and this happened at our campus. All the students from our 3Y to 6th grade participated. So our little walking area was super packed, but Miss Jolene Gonzalez headed that up. She had her little megaphone and they were shouting little chants of I pledge to be anti-bully free. And it was a success. We had some of our parents who joined in on the fun. We wanted to advertise it to be something bigger. However, because of our student population, I was just seeing chaos with a lot of cars and a lot of parents. So I'm hoping that next year we can plan a little better to have a bigger area so everybody can take place in this. So that was our anti-bullying. This little thing here, oh sorry. This little, what's that, doctor? This little was a banner that we had donated to us. And what the students did is they all wrote their name on there, and on the back of it is just, I'm pledging to be kind. So all grade levels, we had to actually take some and put them on the sides because there are so many students at our school, but they all pledged, and that's the result of it. And here is just like a little display of some of our students carrying signs that say they pledge to be anti-bully free, not a bully, but to be kind. And so with that, I would like to introduce our 3rd grade teachers who will also touch into part of the social emotional, which correlates well to this. And that's Ms. Henderson and Ms. Varela, and they will introduce their initiative.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ms. Henderson. I'm Ms. Varela. We're here to talk to you guys about our folder program that we kind of started. This came up right at the beginning of the school year. We were actually meeting with a parent and trying to figure out ways to help a student out and one of the concerns that the parent had was that this particular student gets very overwhelmed and has a hard time focusing. So we were sitting there as 3rd grade teachers because it was a 3rd grade student, and we happened to think about this program that we had heard about other schools trying. I don't know if any other schools in our district are doing it, but I've heard about it before. And so we brought it up, and basically what it is, it's very simple. We have 2 folders. We have a yellow folder and we have a blue folder. So the yellow folder is the social emotional, and the blue folder is for a skills folder, which is an adaptation that we made that we're trying out, and 3rd grade is piloting this program. And it's a way for staff that are involved in helping a particular student communicate without having to single out any students in front of their class, because nobody wants to be singled out when they're upset. You don't want to go up to little Johnny and be like, oh my gosh, little Johnny, why are you crying? What's wrong? In front of the whole class. Nobody wants to single anybody out. So we found a way to silently communicate with adapting this program to better fit our needs. So I'm gonna let Ms. Barella kind of go over.
So I have the blue folder. The blue folder is what we're gonna use for skills, like more of a fluency practice of skills. So in hindsight, what it is we will place any skills that the child may need. Let's say that they struggle with their sight words a bit. We will tuck some sight words in here. We will have a sticky note on the inside, letting that teacher or librarian or custodian, whoever is involved in our program, which we have a list of people that we went over and we talked to and they agreed, they thought it was great and they want to be a part of it. And we will put it in here. And what'll happen is I will be like, hey, can you take this to our librarian for me? I need some help with it. So that way, like again, we're not singling anybody out and they don't really know why they're going, but they're taking this. And then when the librarian gets it, she's gonna open it up. And since we've had previous conversations, she's gonna know, okay, this student needs help on some sight word practice. This should take approximately 5 to 10 minutes, kind of something skills, but also to give them a bit of a break. If they're really very overwhelmed, it could lead into a social emotional, and we wanna catch it before it gets there. So if we know they need some help with fluency math practice or sight words like that, we're able to send them out with this blue folder, and whoever we send them to is able to know, hey, that's the blue one, this is what I'm supposed to do. And we're all combined in it. And that's basically what the skills folder is for. So of course, we would accommodate it to that certain student. It might not every student need help with sight words. It might be multiplication facts, division, addition. It really just depends on the student.
And she mentioned, but we wanna stop it before it gets to the social emotional. That doesn't always happen, okay? There are things way outside of our classroom that we can't control, so the kid could be upset before they even get there in the morning, or something could have happened at lunch, or something could have happened between them and this kid that they're sitting next to. Okay, so that's when the social emotional one comes in. So this one, we don't really put we don't put skills in this one. This one has a note tucked inside, and it's for whoever, from the teacher that's sending the kid to whoever we're sending them to, whether it be the principal, our instructional coach, another teacher, since all of third grade is involved, the librarian, custodians. Okay, we have, again, the whole list of people that's involved, and they'll know when they get this yellow folder, okay, this is a social emotional, let me check in here. And the little kid that's going out doesn't, again, know why they're going out, and neither does anybody else in the class. Because they don't know, okay, a yellow folder means this. The kids don't know that. So then they get there, and this could be something as simple as they just need a break. Okay, Ms. Barella has used it several times with a particular student in her class that gets very overwhelmed very easily, and when he gets overwhelmed, he starts kind of acting out and distracting others. So she sends him with his folder. He has no idea why he's coming. He comes to my class, he brings some of his work with him, he sits down, he calms down. So it gives not only Ms. Barella and her class a break, but it also gives the student a break, a change of environment. Sometimes that is all they need to be able to go back to class in 5 or 10 minutes and focus. Or if a student is very upset, we all have students who come in sometimes, we're all human. They had a bad morning, they're very upset, and they just need a minute. They can go talk to their favorite custodian or the librarian or Ms. Archie or whoever they might have that bond with, because maybe even though they're in my class, I might not be the best person to try to help them through their situation. They're in my class, and yes, I try to have bonds with all of my students, but there might be somebody else in the school that just has a better bond with that student that might be able to help them through. And they can take this yellow folder, and there's no communication, nobody is being singled out, but the staff know. And now this student can go over there, they can get their break, they can take a minute, and then come back into class ready to learn. So instead of just ignoring the situation and leaving them crying in the back of the classroom, they're still not learning anything that way. We give them a break, they go out for 5-10 minutes, they come back, and now they're okay, they're recentered, they can come back in and they're ready to learn. So we are addressing the situation without taking too much time away, because if you just ignore it, they're not gonna learn anyway. So we, as third grade, are piloting this program at Mesa and we're trying it out and seeing how it works.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then with that, we also have teachers who need that little break. So if they need a little break, they know they can come to my office and I'll go and switch. And if I'm not there, then we send Ms. Cameron, and if she's not there, we'll send Angie. So there's somebody that's gonna always give our teachers a break too, just in the event of And this next slide, of course, is our PLCs in action. In this slide here, we had Ms. Cameron who was doing a standard study. It's just where you take all the standards from kindergarten and you go down to 6th grade. And the teachers had to pick out the verbs to see what they were actually working on and how all of these standards correlate from kinder to 6th grade and how every single component of learning and teaching is connected. So this was a very fun activity that I liked doing with her. Then in another setting, we were doing a positive mindset. She just kind of differentiated between intervention and segregation, inclusion, all of those different words of classroom settings. And we had to figure out where we wanted our students to be, and it ended up, we're all inclusive, we're all working for the same goal, and that means a lot of collaboration with our teachers. So I support our PLCs 100%. I get in there at least twice a week, if not 3 times. That's my goal. But having said that, I would like to introduce then our instructional coach as well as our testing coordinator for Mesa View, Ms. Cameron.
Good evening, Superintendent, board members. If you'll take your colored sheet here, I'm gonna run through exactly what I would go over with my teachers and my PLC. This is particularly 6th grade data, and it's the beginning of the year IMSSA data. I'm here to tell you that data can be portrayed negatively or positively. It all depends on how you want to show your data, okay? When you first look at this paper and you look through it, obviously the color that jumps out to you is what color? Red. Red means our kids are struggling. They need improvement. There's lots of it in here, isn't there? Okay, but the yellow, there's also a lot of yellow in there. If you look at your first page and look over to the right-hand side of your paper, there's tons of yellow in there. Okay, if you look at your green, that's your high-performing students. Okay, baseline is baseline. A lot of people say, why are you looking at your baseline data? This paints a perfect picture for how teachers may use this baseline data to target interventions that are targeted to the needs of their kids, okay? Now I invite you to look at the blue, okay? If you look at the first page, the blue, there's 6 in reading, there's 11 in language, and if you turn 2 pages to the math side, there are 12. I wanted to make my teachers feel positive about this baseline data. Those blue marks there are indicative of a child missing the next band color by one point. So that means if you look at the middle here of your page right here, if you look at the middle, there's a targeted band there. The red is 560 to 648. That means that a kid scored 648. If they would have gotten a 649, it would have been yellow. It could also mean that they scored a 659. And if they scored a 659, 1 more point would have given them 660, which would have made them a green colored band. Without an item analysis, which wasn't really ready for us at this point in time, but without an item analysis of looking at the exact standard that's causing our kid their woe, if you just look at this number as a baseline target, it's probably indicative that these blue numbers by mid-year should automatically turn to the next band with targeted interventions in your classroom. Agreed? So not even saying with those targeted interventions, what could happen to the rest of the core? We don't know. We don't know that. But with these 6, with these 11, and with these 12 students, we could make targeted gains and move them to the next colored band, which then makes you look better, obviously, okay? So now look at the one line there on your reading, where it says, the first line that you come to, it says 659, okay? If I do my targeted interventions and I make that green, notice the color change. Notice the two that are there. So we're projecting at sixth grade, the first row of columns is our beginning of the year data. The next one we're projecting, that's gonna be the middle with everybody staying the same and the blue people moving. I invite you then to look down in each grade level there. I did a percentage, okay, from first column to second column. If you look at reading in the green, first column, not making any targeted interventions, 27% of our students scored 27% in the green band, okay? If we do targeted interventions, that jumps to 37. 37 rings a number to me. Does anybody know what number that is? It is. It matches the strategic plan, 37% being successful in reading at mid-year. Okay. If you look at the next colored band, 34% scored yellow, which is great at the beginning of the year, okay? If we do by mid-year, you want that middle score to go lower, because then that means that your kids are going higher to the higher band, and it's 24%. Now you're sitting there and you're saying, oh my goodness, you still have the same number at your red. If we do targeted interventions, which our sixth grade staff is about to talk to you about what those look like, every student, no matter what color band they're in, is going to increase by mid-year. And then we'll do the same, we'll revisit, and we'll do the same for the end of the year. And then we're hoping, there has been some correlation last year with the IMSSA and the actual standard test. There's been some correlation that we can find at our school site where we have shown gains doing this. So this is just our baseline score. When you first looked at this, you had a negative feeling about you. My PLCs will never be negative. My PLCs are all constantly positive. This looks really overwhelming to teachers. But if I present this data to them this way, it gives them hope, it gives them desire, it gives them motivation to want to get these kids to where we need to get them. So looking at baseline data to us is imperative. It guides our vessel to where we're going to be towards the end of the year. I particularly want to talk about the math page. So if you look at the last section of your page, this is where I talked with the sixth grade. Math is our target this year. It's delivered from the state that math needs to be our target, and it's evident right here that it does. If you look at sixth grade, their beginning of the year data, lots of red. But not all students are red, which in some cases prior, third, fourth, fifth, a lot of our kids in math were red. This is your first COVID class where they were online, and then mid-year we decided that those who wanted to come could come to school, and we were still doing the virtual teaching as well. This is this class right here, okay? If you look at their test scores, they're really close. They have more blue to work with. There's 12 of them. If you look at their percentage of beginning of the year to our projected middle of the year, the green's going from 14% to 27%. The yellow's going from 39% to 33%. And then look at that huge drop in red from 47% to 38%. What does this data tell me as an instructional coach? That all the prior foundational skills that are being taught prior third, fourth, and fifth, by sixth grade, they have those foundational skills and now can apply the math that they need in real world. That's what this means to me. And you're wondering, where's all that coming from this data? You're wondering, is beginning of the year baseline data important? It sure is. This is our vessel to guide our instruction. Thanks.
I hope we don't have a test on this afterwards.
I know we have our sixth grade teachers, Miss Ratliff and Miss Budley, who will give us some strategies on what they're using in their classroom. And then Miss Ratliff will have two students she'll introduce to you all. I'll let her say, I'll say that introduction for her. We can go to the next slide. That was Miss Cameron's.
Hello, Superintendent and Board. My name is Janice Bodley. We've been doing a couple things in our sixth grade team. One is collaborating with each other on a regular basis. We try to meet with the whole team. So there's our math teacher, Ms. Ratliff's our language arts, and I'm doing science and social studies. And then we have Miss Mesa, who's doing our inclusion. I don't know. We try to meet often. We look at what the kids are doing, where do they need help and support in the classroom. We're looking at what math interventions can we be targeting, where are they falling low in, and how can we help them in the classroom. So we have 30 minutes every day that we're looking at, that we do interventions with them. We also we try to incorporate vocabulary in all the subjects. We're also working on comprehension in all the classes so that those kids are getting those strategies. Let's see, we're reflecting on our data constantly, and we have high expectations for our students. So even though they think that they might not be able to do it, we're always encouraging them that they can always try to do that.
So, hi, I'm Teresa Ratliff, and one of the things that we have found quite effective is after particularly the I-Station, we have individual student conferences with every individual. It's our belief that how do you know what success is? How do you know where you're headed if you don't know where you are? And they're frank conversations, but always done in a positive, kind way. And also we put some accountability on the student as well. Okay, do you see where your challenge is? What do you feel your challenge is? How do you think we could work together to get to that point of success? Do you have something that perhaps one of your teachers from a previous grade introduced to you that helped you, that you feel you were most successful? We also make sure that parents are notified of these the I-Station reports. It was pretty surprising to the students, some of the students, to find out exactly what grade level, what Lexile level that they tested. Some of them had never been told either that they had significant gaps, or maybe they were at grade level or above. So they've come to the point that they approach us. This is what I'm having trouble with. Do you have something to help me? Where can I go online? Or we have parents calling us and meeting with us about that they're now reading with their student. Or for the first time, they heard their student read and didn't realize what level that they are reading. What can they do about it at home? It's our belief that we are only a triangle, which is actually a very strong shape. And at the top of that triangle is the student. And there's parents, there are teachers. If one of those falls apart, we lost it. And we have to get it back. We've also established a student-teacher communication system. This can be done anonymously by writing it, and let us know what's going on in your life or what's going on in the class. What are your suggestions? What are your ideas? Maybe you have a criticism. Fine, we're willing to work with you. What can you give us? We want them to feel that they are definitely a part of the family and they definitely have a stake in their own education. We make sure all of our objectives, Their expectations are presented visually, verbally, before every lesson. Those objectives, expectations are reiterated throughout the 9 weeks and will be mentioned again throughout the year. And we find that these are some of the things that we have started or we have continued that we feel are a success, will be a success in order to meet some of those movement into some of the other levels. Questions, comments, criticisms, just like we do with the students. And you can get a hold of me anonymously. Okay. So, thank you. So with that, I would like to take a moment to tell you my amazing, I'm just so pleased and so proud of the 2 students that I will be presenting to you. And a big thank you to the parents, grandparents that brought them here. Thank you guys. With our anti-bully walk, it was important that we tie in a lesson or lessons. If you don't have that lessons behind the walk, all you have is a walk. And so in collaboration with my fellow 6th grade teachers, we presented them with the lessons behind it. It became a thematic lesson. Ms. Bodley had a wonderful lesson that she gave to the classes, and they talked very frankly about bullying and what we can do about it. In language arts, they had the writing assessment, and I have to tell you, it was eye-opening. Every class that I had that day that had this assignment, all you could hear was pencil to paper. It was silent, and let me just tell you, it was eye-opening. Some of it was pretty chilling what they had to tell us. Many of them gave us some suggestions and ideas, or opened our eyes as maybe what we could do in the future. All of them got something out of it. So with that, I'm going to introduce some really terrific students. And I have Ms. Tony Martinez, and Mrs. Rose. They have been worked hard on these. And I'm sure it's gonna impact what you think of bullying and what our children have to say. Volleyball. I think we want to accommodate that. You get that? He's like, yeah. Yeah. Good dad. Good timing, Dad.
Hi, my name is Tony Martinez. I am a 6th grade student at Mesa Elementary. This is my paper on bullying. Bullying is a horrible thing. In the past, I was bullied by a few people. It got so bad that I started to think maybe if I put on makeup or acted more mature, I would not have been bullied as much. I became friends with the wrong people. Once I started hanging around with those people, I realized that they were bullies. Since they were bullies, I thought if I was a bully, I wouldn't get bullied as much. So I became a bully and gained a lot of popularity. Once I became popular, I became friends with a mid-school boy. I grew up too fast, and I became friends with a girl, but she just used me to gain popularity. I stopped being friends with the mid-school boy, and all of my so-called friends ditched me because I wasn't popular anymore. Because of that, I started to think maybe I wasn't good enough, and maybe I was too big for my age. I started to do self-harm. I also stopped eating. Bullying caused a lot of damage to a lot of people. My true friends stopped me from hurting myself. I started getting help, and I stopped bullying people. My teachers always helped me when I needed it. They taught me to believe in myself and how to handle bullies. Now I know what to do if I get bullied or if I see someone else getting bullied. Now I would tell bullies to never bully someone because you don't know what others are going through. My mom has always been there for me. I am thankful for everyone who has helped me become stronger, kinder, and a smarter person.
Ms. Ratliff, are the parents of the individuals here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, could we have them stand with the child up here so we can see them?
Fisher.
Is this okay, Dr.
I wanted to take a picture of you guys, and I'll share it with Mr. Perez, so I'll give it to you. But thank you. It's very good for your youngster to be able to express herself like this. You should be honored as a family. And you as well, of course. Well, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Derek Rhodes. I'm a sixth grade student at Mesa Elementary. This is my paper on bullying. Bullying. Why do people do it? People bully because sometimes things happen at home and they build up anger and use it on other people. Bullying happens when kids want to look cool by hurting other kids. People bully to gain power over somebody who is powerless and make them feel afraid. People bully because at one point in their life we're being bullied. Another reason people bully is to hurt someone else's feelings. I personally have been bullied before in pre-K by a fellow student. I'll call him John. John would push me, and in this particular time poured pickle juice on my head. Also, John would like ruining people's days. A year ago, a fellow student made fun of my height. Even one of my friends moved away to a different school because he was bullied so much. Bullying can cause people damage from which they may never recover. Bullying is terrible, and you should never do it. There's no reason whatsoever to do it, even if you've been bullied before. Be the bigger person and tell an adult. If you're not the victim of the bullying, help the person getting bullied and put a stop to it. Bullies can change and to stop bullying because they see what effects do to people. Bullies end up regretting their hurtful behaviors towards others. This wears on them and can cause physical, mental, and emotional damages for the rest of their lives. A lot of people hurt themselves because they are victims of bullying, and the damaging effects can be lifelong. In the past few years, we have had anti-bullying awareness programs to prevent people from bullying and to put them on a course to stop bullying. If you ever get bullied, put a stop to it. In the past few years at Mesa View, we have worked relentlessly to put an end to bullying with classes about bullying. If you ever see a bully, don't let them keep bullying and end it in a respectful way. Anti-bullying programs help you so you don't feel alone when you're being bullied, and you have people to make you feel comforted and to stop your bullying and to never let your bully win. So the bullying stops there. That is why we have staff members. We try to help people that have been bullied before so they do not try to go down the path that their bully went down when they got bullied.
Which is parents,
Grandma?
sister, brother. And while I get up there, if I could just add, I cannot be more proud of these students who gave us such candid answers, showed their bravery in a number of ways, and the trust that they showed us as well. We couldn't have done it without fine family support systems as well.
Phenomenal.
I believe that's it for our presentation for Mesa View. We certainly appreciate your attention, and we also appreciate everything that you all do to help our school systems. And I also want to say thank you to my staff. They're always working hard, and they're always trying to do something better than the day before. Safety is one of our main concerns at our school, as well as social emotional learning, as well as student learning, student focus. And so with their help, our students are going to be more successful, and with your help, all our schools are going to be successful. So I just want to extend my thanks to you, President Dr. Archambault and Superintendent Perez, and the rest of you all for your continued support. Thank you for everything, and thank you for your time.
Staff, did you line up too? Gotta take pictures with all of you guys. Everybody?
Sure.
There you go. It's good.
Settle down. You're not sixth graders.
each other.
One more.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. Good job.
I'll give them to you.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to even consider putting them someplace, I'll tell you later.
I'd like to make a couple of comments.
Yes, please.
Thank you. So, President, Board, and Mesa View staff, first, students, thank you. You did a great job. Nice. Public speaking is kind of difficult. You were pretty good at that, so and you're gonna get better at it. But more importantly, the message that you put across is so important. You guys are making the right decisions and doing your job at sending out the right message, so I appreciate that from you, both of you. I also like to make a comment about the staff, the folders particularly authentic and creative. I like the fact that it's not, you've done a really, really thoughtful job at not making sure that the students were not singled out. That's really much appreciated. So it's a nice system that students are getting support without getting, the spotlight put on them. So we appreciated that. And then one more point on IMASA data. I think it's important to note that in that assessment, first, they're assessing all of the standards. So in that assessment, we still, in essence, have not taught 2/3 or a lot of the standards have not even been taught yet. So I think that that's something that you can keep in your back pocket in your planning and moving forward. So you've indicated a lot of places where you're gonna probably, break the threshold, but I think that one is going to, as you start to teach the standards that have not been addressed yet, should take you to a good level at your next assessment. Thank you.
Comments, board members?
I think it was a good presentation. We'd just like to see more of it, please.
Thank you. Mr. Jones.
Just really quick, I do appreciate the starting point, which we never go to. My concern is if those percentages don't go to where we expect by the end point, what is our plan for next year? I mean, it seems like everything we do is at a glacial pace. As a school district, I'm not talking about at your school, but at least we have a starting point because we never go that. And data is so hard to sell, it's not even crazy. Because the proficiency levels in the New Mexico public schools are abysmal. I mean, they're terrible. You can't sell them. But if you do have a starting point and an end point and you can show some growth in there, I like that. I guess my question is, what if we don't have the growth we're after? I do want to set a standard, and you said you make a comment, we have high expectations. Well, what if we don't reach those expectations and those sixth graders are gone now and we're on another set of sixth graders? So I guess I'd like to know at the end of the year where we are percentage wise on red, yellow, and green. And how many blues we wouldn't have in there.
Okay, so this is a projection right here. So what I could do for you is I guess what you're wanting is impossible because last year's end of the year test was 5th grade standards. This is the beginning of 6th grade standards. They're totally different. They're tested on totally different things.
I totally understand that.
Okay,
as well.
So what I would say is there's going to be some kids whom either are on an individualized plan that will make very slow gains. Those kids work at a slower pace. They're gonna be in red for a while. They'll probably be in red to the middle school. You probably will not see them go into another band probably till yellow in maybe high school. But you're still making that growth. And to me, with inside the band, okay, I don't want you to hone in on the color. Inside the band, a red person scores from 560 to 648. That's a lot of points in between 560 and 648. But how about if I tell you that most of these red kids, by the end of the year, if they don't reach the next color band, I can guarantee you through target practices that they will be close to this 648. They're going to move with inside their colored bands. They might not jump the whole hurdle, but they will get higher scores, and they might still just miss it by 1 or 2 or whatever. What I'm saying is with the DLP that has been established by your board through your instructional leader here, through Mr. Pettis, the focused teaching coupled with targeted interventions should be the plan to get these kids to move with inside their band, if not jump color bands.
I can appreciate everything you just said, and I am not by any means questioning
Oh,
what we're after.
I'm
And I
just
do
telling you what
understand, I do understand the 5th grade to the 6th grade, and it's totally different.
Yes.
My point being, I'm telling you how much I appreciate we have a starting point, because we generally don't do that. All right, let's see how I'm gonna put it. We're going on 6th graders now that come off of 2 years where we did nothing for them at COVID. And as the New Mexico PED doesn't have a plan to help them. We don't. We're just doing our best is what we're doing. So can we make this school year a start and finish data and make that the standard for the next school year, start and finish data? Can we raise that each and every year, is what I'm saying?
And that
Because
comes, sure, sir, that comes naturally through your strategic plan that our instructional coach, our leader is professing for us. That comes naturally. Whatever we scored last year, she bumps it up and wants us to do much better. So, I mean, 37% proficient. I mean, you and I, we're sports people. 37% is mediocre.
for sure, and
For sure.
any of the data that,
For sure.
that school,
We
you
want,
can't sell it.
we want hires, man.
Yeah,
We want
you can't sell it.
75%, 89%. We want that free throw to be there 92% of the
So
time.
at least you can,
Gotcha.
with this, I can appreciate, because we can
Yes.
actually finally show some growth.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
I was doing it, I appreciate it more than anything, because we can show some growth. I'd love to hear what the growth is at the end of this year, just with this bunch. Not, not next year, and where those percentages, or where in their color slide they made.
So to give you a little bit of a time to cheer, last 4th grade class, which would be 5th graders now, scored the top in both IMASA and MSSSA. So it was a direct correlation of how they performed on these precursors was how they were gonna perform on the end of the year test. That grade was the best grade. They were also a 2-year COVID people that you're talking about. We have great expectations for them to just continue to go higher. 5th grade teachers have talked about how better prepared they are. And that has a lot to do, sir, I think, with not just teachers looking at data, not just our PLCs, but I'm a firm believer of that DLP, and it focuses teacher instruction. It yields better student outcome through examining student work, and teachers know better if their kids know the standard or not, because through our standard study, through our mindset change, and through this data, we have come to a collective body at our school that we're gonna accept what it is, but we're gonna do everything we can to move forward with all of those components. And DLP is the center of our driving force. Our examining student work is standard-based. Their assignment has to match the standard. That's the first thing you gauge in that. Does it match? Is your assignment gonna match the standard? Is it your student outcome saying what that standard says? And if it doesn't, then all we're doing is grading on expectations. And if you grade on expectations, that's not helping the kids. So that's where our focus study is at our school. I can't speak for other schools in the district, but I can speak for ours. And we, I think, just would attest to it. We've got a pretty good educational team. We work well together. We know how to speak to one another. We offer interventions that work both for the high and for the ones who need it or are struggling. We just have a good unit, a good core to move forward, and we feel very positive that our scores are gonna go up.
Thank you very much.
Board members? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Do you have any comments to make?
I don't know, I might open another whole presentation if I make some. No, I think just to piggyback off of what Ms. Crammond said, and to answer another part of your question is, you know, it's not just about staying in the norm. We also have to reevaluate every single time we take a test. Every time something comes about in the classrooms, we're always reevaluating. And that includes in professional development. So if we can offer that more to our teachers in whatever capacity, however way we can support them in order to become better, that's what we're gonna do. And I'm a firm believer, like I said, in these professional development and the PLCs. That's just gonna help us help our teachers become rich in their knowledge. That way they can deliver content that is gonna help our students. Ultimately, that's who our focus is, student learning, and everything holistically about that student. And that's what's gonna help. You know, another thing is we look at numbers in our state testing as, you know, success. Another thing we need to keep in the back of our mind is student attendance. When they come to school, when they don't come to school, I should say, that hinders their success. And one of the things that we're trying to improve in, which will ultimately create better test scores, is getting our students to school. Our EWS people are busy trying to get our kids into school. And we're constantly trying to think of, well, you know what, if these are habitual students that are tardy every single day, how do we get them to school? We can tell parents, you know, a lot of these are factors. So it's about our school being creative and getting our students to school. So that is another thing we are working on. And I gotta hand it to our EWS people. If we didn't have them monitoring the attendance, you know, it'd just be like another student not being in school. But because we have that, it's helping us. So I think that's about it. I know you probably have a long agenda. Like I said, I could go on for longer, but we've already taken up about an hour of your time, unless you have anything specific you would like to ask me. You know, numbers are numbers, but at the end of the day, as long as our kids went out of school with some new knowledge, they were in school, they were safe, returned to mom and dad, we're already succeeding. So.
Thank you. The professional attitude is extremely important. And that determination. In other words, it doesn't, you understand the levels of performance. You don't necessarily accept them, but you understand them. And if you are having if you are systematically discussing student performance consistently, continuously, each week together, you will solve your problems rather than doing it individually, as we used to do, by ourselves, in a classroom, wondering. But this way, you have a collective determination to succeed. And that attitude is what we want. It's actually the standards that we want to see. If you focus on the standards, which is what the DLP is all about, you will get the results from the tests. Tests, we know all about test taking skills. Ability to take tests, some students have greater ability to do that. I think that you focus on what the children are doing each week. You look at their work and you try to collectively decide what needs to be done for them. That's phenomenal. I wish I was almost there to participate, because I think I'd be scared to death sitting with a team of teachers trying to explain some of this. And I think it increases your professionalism tremendously. And that's what we want to see, is that we recognize that we got a long way to go. And so, but if you can get the children to enjoy learning, enjoy coming to school, that's really important. So it must be fun to read. And hopefully it'll be fun to do their math too. That's a challenge. You guys did well, and we're really impressed with your enthusiasm and your ability to advocate for yourselves tonight and for your kids.
I apologize, I got caught in the tractor trailer accident. You mentioned the EWS, and I know that they are very important to the school. How many times does a student have to come tardy or absent before their EWS team takes effect?
Well, it just depends. Well, for tardies, that's what we are working on. I was looking through the handbooks to see if there was anything for tardies. I have not found anything for tardies, so that is something that I wanted to discuss with Raina and Miss Patricia about developing something, because we need something, otherwise they're gonna continue to be tardy. I can tell them when they're outside dropping their students off, but we need something that's gonna back me up. I was ready to stand there and hand out a flyer to the parents to say, you need to have your kids on time. Another scenario to that, though, is if we have a lockdown or a shelter in place and we're having parents drop off their students and shipping them in with no parent, no guidance, that's another issue for me. And so that's why we need to develop something for the tardiness. As far as the attendance, every time the students are absent, EWS is on it, they're cheering our students. I believe the 1 to 2 days, it sets them in a chair already. So if you look at our attendance, I believe every student is in a tier. Maybe 5% of them aren't. But because of the new system in attendance with the PED, there are a lot of students in tiers. We have a lot of students already in a tier 4, which is 20% or higher, which is 10 days, almost 10 days of school. And I might add that a lot of them are the Native American population. And that hits me in the heart, because we need our students here.
I always felt personally that under the SPED guidelines, that there was never a disability for what I called academically delayed, because their parents never sent them to school.
Right.
And that's what hindered their understanding and their comprehension.
Right.
And so that's really important, especially with these outlying communities where there's always some reason why they're not coming to school.
Right. Not only does it hinder a subgroup, but we also have a correlation between attendance and a high rate of special education students. And so yes, that educational delay, developmentally delay, whatever delay we have, there's a factor to it. And I believe a lot of it has to do with missing school.
And I think if you look at the statistics, even in Albuquerque and Gallup, they're also experiencing that same thing, and it's coming off of the lack of attending during the COVID era. And so it seems like that even just adds to the reasons why they don't want to come.
Right.
So, thank you, doing a good job.
With that, thank you. Board members? Good word spoken. Mr. Pettis, let's continue on.
Okay, the next item, Mr. President, Board, is the proposed policy on complaints against the superintendent.
One moment, let me see where I'm at. Okay, board members, this was, we had adopted the policy on public comment. One of the sections in the policy was a section regarding if there was a concern by a citizen or whatever to express some concerns regarding the performance of the superintendent, that we would develop a set of procedures. And so what this item tonight is basically a sort of like an attachment to the policy. So what you would do is you would take a look at is the policy, it should be there. And you should have reviewed it. And it basically describes what the procedures are if a complaint is made and what we do about that. So that's what this is all about. It's basically just the part that we needed to do once we had approved the policy on public comment. Any questions on that section? Mr. Pettis, Mr. Jones?
I do, and I'm fine with all of it, other than paragraph 4. If any member of the public or employee, school district who wishes to submit criticism, formal complaint against the superintendent of schools may submit it in writing to the president of the Board of Education at the board meeting or at the following address. What happens to it after that? That is nowhere in this policy.
Okay, you're looking at which part are you looking at?
That
The
was-
yellow or the?
Right below, right under yellow.
D.
The next one on, yes, D.
Take a look at that. If any member wishes to submit in writing,
Goes to the,
in the envelope containing the written complaint, submissions can only be opened, okay? If the envelope so indicates the envelope will not be opened by school personnel. The Board of Education, then E, okay,
Okay,
Okay.
I'm with you.
all right,
But after it says it goes strictly to the president of the board, then underneath it says the Board of Education shall appoint a third party to investigate. We're missing a step in there.
in other words, how does the board? appoint?
Decide. How does the board
How
decide
does the
whether we're
board
gonna,
decide?
what third party we're gonna go?
Yeah, because the only way that the board can act is in a meeting.
Correct?
In other words, we would need to insert a section there that describes how we go from D to E.
Some type of presentation.
Okay.
Well, we could have a discussion in
Yeah.
executive session, but the action's gotta be taken
Yeah.
out here
Yeah.
as a board. If it only goes to the president of the board, there's a step missing in there.
So do you see that?
Yes, I do. Also, Mr. President, Board, there also has to be some kind of determination made, like, so the complaint is that I parked in somebody's parking space. You know, do you immediately assign a third party?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the point, that's the breakdown. We have to have a discussion as a board.
Okay.
I just caught that.
Thanks.
also what happens if it's the person that's making the complaint indicates that they don't want, doesn't say who should, by school personnel, are they talking about the president of the board, are they talking about the secretary of the superintendent's office, or what are we, it just says school personnel
Which one?
right here. The envelope will not.
Will not be open.
Yeah, if the envelope so indicates, the envelope will not be opened by school personnel. It's kind of ambiguous.
Needs to be further defined at
Yeah.
that point.
Okay.
Like who decides whether or not it should be opened by school personnel?
Well, it says that, if it so indicates, if they just want it to go strictly to the board, we can take it strictly to the board.
Mhm.
Strictly to the board president, and then go to the
Then to
step
the
for
meeting.
us, yes.
Okay. Anything else? All right. So when we get to the action item, we won't act on that. We'll take this back to the,
Correct.
okay? Okay. If there's anything else?
Well, that's
Thanks.
all, and I like all of it,
Yep.
we're just missing a step
Missing
in
some
it.
Piece of the puzzle.
And actually, we need to have someone on a flow charty thing, because that's what you saw, was that you kind of visualized it, and it didn't play out.
Kind of stopped.
It didn't stop.
Give you an ambiguity of which direction it would go.
Okay. Thank you, board members. Any other?
Just, while we're revising it or looking at this again, maybe a little bit more criteria on who the third party might be.
Okay.
You're right.
Question mark.
Even timeline.
That also needs to be, there's some type of timeline. You could sit
Yeah,
on it
because
for a
we go
year.
from D to E, how does that play out? Is it the next board meeting? Is it,
Is it within 6 months? Is it within a year?
okay,
Okay, a few more things.
excellent. We'll give it a try again. It's not a policy, but it is a regulation that the board would want to make sure that it's clear on how it's going to be handled. Very good. Mr. Pettis, do you feel comfortable in going on it to the next agenda item?
Yes, sir. So, Mr. President, Board, if we can move on to first action item, consideration of approval to transfer property from the city of Grants to Grants-Bullion County Schools District. I do recommend that we approve that action item.
Yes.
Mr. President, the only questions I have is now, and I agree that the piece of property needs to go back to the school system. It was theirs. It was the city's, now it's gonna go back to the school system. What provisions are gonna be made for access to all the utilities that are on that property now? That run right down the sides of those roads? If there's a gate which is locked, fire department can't get in, not a problem. I'm not sure about the telephone guys or the water and wastewater guys, or, so we need some way to make sure that happens, because stuff happens in the middle of the night, trust me.
Do you have any information on that, Mr. Maldonado?
So once, to answer that question, sir, once the property is transferred back, we can then work with our attorneys to draft up easement agreements that allow utility groups to access that property. That's the only other answer there is.
The water is on the south aspect, and gas and communications is on the north aspect, and then power is above head, so. There's a nice big set of gates that goes across that road right now.
So the intention for that is to actually be part of our bus loop for the new school. And so when I work with the architects on that, I'll bring that up, that we need to still have access to that. Of course, we don't want public being able to drive through our bus loop at any given time.
Agreed, yes, wholeheartedly.
We'll work on something like that. I'll work on something with the architects on that.
Mr. Pettis, does this conversation have any bearing on the action?
No, sir. I recommend that we approve that action item.
With those in mind? Okay.
Down the road.
Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. President.
Motion made by Mr. Hayes.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Jones, to transfer property from City of Grants to Grants-Bullion County School District as presented. Roll call.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yes. Motion carries.
Next item, Mr. President, consideration approval to adopt proposed policy on complaints, paragraph C, against the superintendent.
So, Mr. President, do we need to table this until?
Can't.
Cannot?
So what he'll do is ask for a motion.
Okay.
And we won't take action on it.
Yeah.
If we would have tabled it, we would have had to do it at the approval of
At the-
agenda.
Yeah, so.
But no action can be taken. I mean, if somebody wants to take action, yes.
Sure.
But
So I'm gonna call for the motion, and it'll either be made or not made.
correct.
And I'll wait for a few seconds, and that's when it goes. Is there a motion to that effect? There's no motion, there's no action to be taken. Mr. Pettis.
President Board, an action item is consideration of approval to upgrade the exterior lighting system at Grants High School. I do recommend that we approve this action item as presented.
Was there a brief explanation? Do we need?
Yes, Mr. President and board members. So currently, the entire front of Grants High School is probably dark right now because none of the exterior lighting works. The cost to update the light fixtures with new bulbs, which are the sodium metal halide bulbs, they burn through electricity, was almost as much as upgrading the entire fixture to LED. So to save some money in the long run with utilities and whatnot, and maintenance as well with those fixtures, we're recommending that we switch to LED fixtures on the exterior of the front of Grants High School.
Mr. President, if I can ask Mr. Triplehorn, I know you're new, just could you get with Conway Divide and see if they qualify for any rebate because we're switching from halide to LEDs? I did for the fire station, we got a whopping $2,500, even though I spent $20,000.
Okay, I will check with that.
Every
Yes,
nickel,
yes,
every
sir.
nickel helps.
Any other questions? Yeah. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Board Member Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Richard Ortiz. Adopt proposal, oops, wrong one. Exterior lighting system at Grants High School. As presented. Roll call?
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Robert Hayes.
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yes. Motion carries. Mr. Pettis, consent agenda.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board, I recommend that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Emily Hunt Daly. Motion was made by Richard Jones. Approval of the consent agenda is presented. Motion, roll call?
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Richard Jones.
Aye.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yes, motion carries. Mr. Pettis,
Yes, sir, executive session will be next.
board members, there will be an executive session, board discussion with his legal counsel under the attorney-client privilege and anticipation of litigation pursuant to section 1015-187 of the Open Meetings Act to discuss school districts' compliance with the statute on obligations to public education stakeholders and government-to-government interactions with shared and separate statutory authorities, including need for communication with tribal governments. Is there a motion to go into the executive session for that purpose?
So moved.
So moved by Emily Hunt Daly,
Second.
second by Bob Hayes. Pursuant to the New Mexico Open Meetings Act under section 1015-187 of the New Mexico Meetings Act. Roll call, please.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Ron Ortiz,
Yes.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yes. Motion carries. The time is
6:44.
6:40.
thank you.
Should have read that.
That's fine.
find my, the board is coming out of closed session at, 7:37. Is there a motion to reconvene the open meeting session?
I make a motion, we reconvene.
Motion is made by Richard Jones to reconvene. Is there a second? Second by Ron Ortiz to reconvene the open session. For the purposes of notification, this executive session complied entirely with the intent of the executive session, and that is to have legal counsel advise us on issues related to school district compliance with statute on obligations to public education stakeholders and government interactions with shared and separate statutory authorities, including need for communications with tribal governments. Roll call. Can we do a roll call?
We have not yet.
Roll call now.
Yes. Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Ron Ortiz.
Yes.
Dr. Guyer, Shambo.
Yes. Motion carries. Action item.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, Board, I think we have missing word here, but I'll include it in my consideration of, this is consideration of approval to submit communication to the PED Secretary on compliance issues. And I recommend that we approve that action item.
Is there a motion to
I
that
make
effect?
a motion, we approve how it was stated.
Motion is made by Richard Jones. Is there a second? Second by Ron Ortiz to submit communication to the PED Secretary on compliance issues. Roll call.
Emily Hunt Daly. Yes. Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Richard Jones.
Aye.
Ron Ortiz.
Yes.
Dr. Guyer, Shambo.
Yes, motion carries. Superintendent's report.
Mr. President, Board of Security update, I gave a pretty comprehensive update on security last round. We just, to add to that, I'm still waiting on a quote for training. You know, we have, there was a very intensive training for all of our security guards. Of course, I went through the whole thing about going from 1 to 9 guards and so on. I'd like for all of our guards to go through the whole 40-hour process for the, not only is it SRO training, but it does gear them up in case any of them can carry arms at any point soon. That'll be another step forward in that direction. Right now, we have, again, 2 officers qualified, level 3 to carry arms. But even now, even those 2 would have to go through this 40-hour session to get to be fully qualified. And I want to get, since we don't have access to SROs, I want to get to the armed guards as soon as possible. And the other thing is, I was just given a MOU by Laguna Police Department. They're opened up to having an SRO at Laguna Acoma High School again. So we have a guard there very soon, as soon as they can find the, they think they have the applicants interested. We'll have we'll have an SRO again at Laguna Acoma High School. But here at Grants High, we're having to develop our own because we don't, Grants PD and Sheriff, they don't have the officers to help us out. So we'll be building our own armed security here we're on that path as fast as we can get there. That's all I have for that.
Questions? Announcements you see, we have October 6th, meet with the legislators. Is that still on?
So, Lorraine, we have 2 legislators that can make it on the 6th at that time at 11. Alicia Alcon and Josh Sanchez is still iffy. So we're still gonna try and meet with them, whether they can meet as a group or individually. We still
Harry Garcia?
want to- And Harry Garcia can't make it on that date, but he said he can make
You
it
can
on.
make it on another day.
So date.
We haven't set that date
We
yet.
haven't set, no.
Okay, so we're gonna have to meet with them.
Well, I'd rather have I'd rather have a majority there than just one.
The problem is that Representative Garcia explained to us is that they're on different committees and those committees just happen to be alternating so that they can't be here at the same time. So, and we're getting close to legislative session. The whole idea of this was to let them know what we're all about, what our needs are.
Talk about what we consider to be important.
Exactly.
So let's give it a shot. See what we can get.
We need to.
Well, then let the others know what we consider to be important. And you know that the NSBA has their usual December where they bring up their
Wish list.
wish list. Yeah.
And just, we would like to.
You can, if we get any, will we have anything by that time, or will they have developed their platforms yet?
They have developed the platforms, they're
Okay.
going with that. However, the New Mexico Association of School Board Officials is not agreeing with it. They're upset because they weren't included in that whole process, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, another set of politics there.
Okay, school board training on the tenth,
That's still on?
that's still on.
This is on for Monday. this
It's
coming-
on and I'm gonna be late. I'm so sorry. I got a bull run Sunday evening, but I fly in, I get at Atlanta at 11 and I'll drive as fast as I can.
So long as.
Cause I know I said I was gonna be free. I'm usually home by Sunday, so I'm sorry.
Well, call them fast.
I'll call as fast as I can.
All right, get them out there, get them out there.
What time?
So we're
8:30 to
8:30 to 3 right now, but I'll get with Dr. Ashambo and get the more specific agenda out.
It's gonna be
at the
about-
golf course.
We're gonna do a little bit of 101, but it's going to be about things that make sense to us. And we'll go as far as we can and when we get through, we'll leave. And it's just right up here at the
Golf course. We'll also have a little demonstration of examining student work, so everybody can have a visual of how that goes.
Okay. And some work on the budget, understanding how we're building more information on the budget so that we know how that's gonna play out. He's already talked to us a bit about that, but we need to have more information and a couple of other things. Grading period is almost here, October 14th. School board meeting. We also have the Moriarty thing for those who are gonna make it.
On the 12th.
That's the 12th.
Yeah.
Just send me the address.
Future agenda items you see? Entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Bruce Jones, seconded by Robert Hayes. Roll call.
Minnie Daly,
Yes.
Robert Hayes,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Hunter Tees,
Yes.
Dr. Guyer Shambo.
Yes. Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned at,
Go sit over there now.
11:45.
you got a meeting yet?
Yeah, right over there.